Hi, everybody. Welcome to the feed. I am one of your hosts, Lisa Lopez Griggs, and this is the Faces of Epilepsy Every Day. I'm so excited that our amazing producer is in the background, Michael Hall. Michael, we love you. We thank God for you, especially for putting this. I have lost count, Michael, on how many episodes this is, but I think it's probably over maybe 40 at this point. We're over 2,100 in our Faces of Epilepsy group on Facebook. That is our community for you, all of you epileptics and caregivers. And I'm really happy to announce that on Friday night, this last Friday night, we had so many people, Michael, streaming that somebody would come onto the stream and then it would kick somebody else out, and we don't mean to kick you out. It's just that the community is growing so much, and there's just so many amazing people in this community. Michael, thank you so much for helping to put this together, sir. This is really exciting things that are happening. I just kind of was really just taking it all in today, just kind of sitting with just where we've come from, from just when you and I first met. And I don't know, it's just like, wow, this is really happening. This is really, really happening. And lots of people are being able to share their stories, Michael, and they're being heard, and they're adding a lot of value.
Absolutely. That's the key. For me, it's just, to find something that is so needed. And by the way, I want to talk about the stream. That was fun, but a little stressful. Fun. Like driving a race car really fast on a racetrack. It's fun, but it's stressful. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Hope we do it again. And what's crazy is we got people already lined up for this Friday coming up. And I think it's important to point out that we have people from all over. We have Black people, we have white people, we have old people, we have young people, we have boys, we have girls, we have married people, we have single people, we have people with kids, we have people with no kids. Mm-hmm. We have people literally, we had 9-10 people in and out, and I think 9-10 states represented. So, the fact that we had 20% of the U.S. represented on one stream was speaking about epilepsy. I would love to ask the Epilepsy Foundation of America if they've ever had anything like that. I think we may have done something literally that was never done before, even on it, just trying to hang out. But that's most amazing things happen on accident, right? So, yeah, just such a blessing. And, as somebody who now knows how it feels, and then like Enrique, shout out, and, Rudy. It just, we didn't know how valuable this group was. So we had seizures, we had recovered, and we're like, man, that thing, that disappointing feeling of nobody understands. I can't really talk about this. The only person who would even pretend to care is my neurologist, and they, so, okay, time to just suck it up and keep going. And then now we have a place to just talk and share how we feel in those experiences. And as I've said, as Enrique said, as Rudy said, as so many people say, I didn't know how much I needed this till it existed and I could talk and I heard other people. So thank you all, man, because it's us. It's everybody. We are such a small part of it, believe it or not. So thank you.
Yeah, I think like what you said, just to, piggyback on that, it's so humbling. It feels very humbling to, be involved with a community of people, a collective that is so special because they actually care. Like, people really care. And I think also too, what comes up for me is the fact that epileptics have a 3-time greater chance of suicide than the general population, than the general public. And I believe we are filling a very serious gap here. I really, really do. Because, Michael, the platform is being given for people to share their stories, share their journeys around epilepsy. And I always feel like group therapy is, um, it doesn't get enough attention. There's power in collectives and groups and seeing yourself in other people's conversations. Platform for that to happen. I think what happens is that people don't feel alone. They feel like they belong, and that's what you're helping to create here. And I wonder if you knew, like, did you? I know we are going to bring someone on that actually was very also early on in the journey with us, and I think you should stay on for the interview today, because I thought we would just kind of have, like, even though
Okay.
we're not really doing a fireside chat, like, we could just have a chat, with him,
I know.
because
Yeah.
because he's been very instrumental in helping Faces of Epilepsy grow, and his faith has played a big part in that. He's out of Kentucky, so he is one of those states, that is represented. We did not know him prior to the feed or Faces of Epilepsy. You and I didn't know each other prior to the feed and Faces of Epilepsy. And I think he'll be fun to bring him in. But what are you, before we do that, did you think that this would get to this place where we would be at this many episodes and with what you saw on Friday night? Because that was
Yeah.
really exciting. I
It
know it was
was.
crazy for you and it was a lot to manage, because people were like, did Mike kick me out? And I think you were like juggling a lot. But what did you know it would go this far and it was have this kind of legs?
Uh, no, and yeah, it was one of those. I realized like the max is 9. Like my
Yeah.
setup can only hold 9 people before I have to start doing more things, right? Like programming
Right.
and setting it up. Because I've never had more than like 5, and I was like, I'll never need more. Just to have like 8 or something. I'm like, I never am gonna do 8. But here we are, and I love it. So, but yeah, no, I had no idea. For those that don't know, I do this. I podcast, right? I
Yeah.
podcast and produce other podcasts for a living. So for me, it's kind of different, this part of it, right? In that I would be here in this studio recording with this microphone and working with this computer, or, editing somebody else's clips for their channels, whatever the case. But this is what I do, right? And, after that after last October, where, I literally had 2 days worth of seizures in a row, like
Hmm.
I died, all of that.
Yeah.
It was a life-changing, very scary experience. And then, going to a neurologist that barely spoke English, which I have no problem if you barely speak English. I welcome you to be your best in this country. However,
Mhm.
and call me what you want. I just don't want you working on my brain. Okay, but that's just me. All right. But I
Mhm.
think everybody should have the right to, their own decisions in who treats them for their health issues. However,
Mhm.
with that being said, there was just no anything. I was like, I would like to go down on my Keppra doses, or find maybe a potential, what do you call it, substitute for Keppra, because I've heard, because it's not really, it was just where I'm at in my journey. And,
Mhm.
he told me I was basically stupid, take more vitamin B12 and call him if I have a problem. And that was it. No testing. No, well, let's check this. Let's check that. Let's
Mhm.
even get your blood work done. Let's just do something other than roll in, treat you like you're stupid, and roll out until you see you in 6 to 9 months. I'm definitely not seeing him again, but now I'm working on going to see another
Mhm.
neurologist. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I got to find
Mhm.
another
Mhm.
guy, girl
Right.
to work with. So, that's when I went to Facebook. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
online all the time. And I wanted to know. I wanted something. I wanted to not be so alone in this.
Mm.
And I didn't want to feel weak anymore. And I just, maybe if I could go online, I can be private and just talk to people. And then I
Mhm.
met you, and you were like, you don't have to be ashamed, dude. And I was like, whoa. And then what you went through with Judah and everything,
Mhm.
and you were
Mhm.
strong, and you're like, I'm doing this. I was like, okay. And when I saw you, that's when God put it on my heart. And I'll be honest, it's you see you, and when God puts that calling, it's like, you have no excuse because look at
Mhm.
her. And then it
Mhm.
was my own wife who was like, how is she doing this? And I remember that question was weird to me. I was like, what do you mean? How is she podcasting? Babe, you know what we're doing, babe. And she was like, no, after what she's been through,
Mhm.
how is she like leading a group and supporting others and working like she is for the cause? How is she doing that? I was like, I guess she's just very strong. And thank God that we connected in that way, and your joy and your light and what, your
Mhm.
blessings are. And then not to talk, but what God has given me as far as the ability to do this. I thank you,
Yeah.
not me, but thank you, Jesus, for this.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was like peanut butter and chocolate. Let's go. Reese's for epilepsy.
I was gonna say yes.
Purple
Yes.
Reese's. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get Reese's during National Epilepsy Awareness Month to do a purple. That's what we'll do.
Yes. I love
Yeah,
it. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing.
But I thank you. Sorry, I went a little long there. But thank you, and thank all of you because
Mhm.
I know firsthand real men, right? Like me, I'm a
Yeah.
UFC guy. Been on my own since I was very young. Never met my father.
Mhm.
Traveled around the world by myself. I
Mhm.
consider myself pretty much a dude. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call myself weak at all, save for dying to my flesh for God.
Yeah.
However, I see me. I see the boat, Rudy Martinez. I see our next guest.
Mhm.
I see manly men. And
Mhm.
there is something, and I spoke to my pastor about this last night, in fact. He was like, there is nothing more stronger than being honest and real. He's like, can I tell you the problem is that all the men nowadays are either trying to be lesser men or too much
Mhm.
man, and none of them are trying to just be honest and real
Yeah.
because that's where
It's
real
true.
strength is found.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the men in our life and in our
Yes.
group because that's a valuable, and the women. Don't get me wrong. Just sorry. This is why it's your show.
Ah, no, 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 no. I agree with that. I think the men that are a part of this community are really amazing. That's why I want you to really stay on today, for this show because the gentleman that we're getting ready to bring on has been very instrumental in helping us grow this group and really sharing so much about epilepsy and positivity and awareness and has also been very vulnerable. And I think that's what you're trying to say is in the beauty of this vulnerability around epilepsy, it's like that authenticity is attracting and magnetizing people in, like Heather Marks, Teresa Lettner, Ashton Callahan, and our next guest, Harold Creekmore. Why don't you join us all the way from
Hey,
Kentucky? So excited.
Yes, sir.
glad to be here.
Sure. We have been trying to have you on here with just Mike and I for a while. I know that you joined us Friday night, which Mike was saying that was pretty awesome actually that he was
Yeah, it
able
was.
to manage all that because there were so many people on the feed, you know.
Yeah,
But we love having you here, sir. Michael and I, gosh, it makes me want to get a little bit choked up here. We appreciate you. We want you to
I
know again
appreciate you guys a lot too.
how much value that you have contributed to the feed and the Faces of Epilepsy and just the community here. You are such a support to so many. And I don't even know if you actually realize what a support you are to a very, an important community, an important cause. And we just want to thank you, really want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for just showing up for people and just being your authentic self. Thank you for
Thank
that,
you.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's all been God doing it. He brought me
Yeah.
through brought me through that alcoholism and for 21 years and then led me through a lot of car accidents with epilepsy and I mean there've been car accidents that I should have died in. People was like amazed looking at the cars afterwards, been like, how in the world did you live through that? And then it'd be like, you got a calling, dude. God's got a calling for you, And I don't know if you guys know the cars, but that last Nissan Versa
Yeah.
has rolled over. I rolled over in it, and then they said I hit my head, and then pushed the windshield. They said I pushed the windshield open, was standing outside when the paramedics showed up. And everybody was like just blown away. They was like, that man should have died in that vehicle. He said, God is watching over him.
Amen.
And Randy Bargo even brought it up in church, My preacher down in Newcomb, Tennessee. He even brought it up in church, And he also he got involved with the prayer in the park we had down there with Celebrate Recovery. And it grew into a revival. And it blew me away when we done that, because it was like,
amen.
it was only
I want to hear about that story.
it's only like 5 or 6 people showing up to this prayer in the park down there. And then he got involved, and then we started inviting other churches to get involved, And then he wanted to have a revival down there, and there's like 360 people showed up. And I was standing around there. I was just looking around. And I was just like, what in the world? I was just like amazed, I was like looking around, and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody has showed up here. I was like, this is wild, And then he had me give my testimony. And I was like, oh, man, I can't do this. I don't know if I can get up here. And he coached me into it and got me up there. I was a nervous wreck, but I got up there and gave my testimony in front of everybody, and it was great. It was a great feeling.
Wow, that's awesome. And then that turned into a revival, you said, or what happened?
Yeah, that was the revival when I gave my testimony.
Praise God. That's awesome.
And they've had several other revivals there, but they continue with the prayer in the park still. It's continuing to go down there. And but I loved it. How it turned out, growing and everything, and everybody getting involved.
Wow, that is amazing. That is so awesome. I know your faith plays a big part in your epilepsy journey. You are an epileptic. Maybe you could tell Mike and I, how that started for you. Like, where did your epilepsy journey start?
Well, when I was a kid, when I was born, I had a high fever, and I was in the hospital, and they said I almost passed away when I was a baby from the high temperature. And then the seizures didn't start until I was like, I'm thinking around 5, but it might have been younger. It might have been around 4. I was around, the best I remember, around 5 years old. And then I was on medicine after medicine after medicine, and I couldn't get them under control. And then I started drinking when I was 14, and that didn't help anything, And that was after my dad passed away. And then just continued, and then once when I was, I think I was about 18. No, I was 19. I had a car accident then, and they put me on some medication. I went like 2 years, only 2 years seizure free.
Okay.
And then that's when I moved to Dayton, Ohio. And then it's like 6 months later, the seizure started again. It only lasted 2.5 years. And this now is the longest I've been. Well,
and how long is that?
Wait a minute, not the long. This is 2 years and 5 months. So
okay, that you've been seizure free.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you attribute that to medication, diet, meditation, Jesus?
Jesus.
What is going on there?
Because I did not change any medication, didn't add no medication or nothing. all they done was they prayed for me at the prayer in the park. And then the following night, I had like a small one at the church service. And then Joe Morgan, he was preaching that night, and he said, he come up to me and he said, "You care if I call you up and have everyone pray over you before you move?" And I said, "No, I don't care." And they called me up and everyone prayed over me. And then it's like about a year later, I got out walking, and I was walking, and it was real heat, real hot, and humid. And I got back to the house, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, that was humid and hot out there. And I should have had a seizure. Should have brought on a seizure or something, or an aura,
Mhm.
Then I was like, wait a minute. So I texted Joe and I said, "Didn't you call me up, to pray over me before I moved?" And he said, "Yeah, it's the night before you moved." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, brother, it's working." And that was just after a year.
Wow. So this is like a bona fide miracle.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Michael, did you hear that?
Yeah, that is amazing.
And that's when I started finding these shirts on Facebook. They just started popping up on Facebook. Like this one says, God gives his hardest battle is his well.
God gives his hardest battles to his toughest soldiers.
Epilepsy
awareness.
Yes.
Yes, we love that.
And see, I started getting some of these shirts off of Timu. They started popping up on Facebook, and I'm like, what in the world, And then there's like $34 or something on there, And I was like, wait a minute, they got to be cheaper somewhere else. So I found them on Timu.
We're working on oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then I got another one that says, "My God is stronger than epilepsy."
Amen.
Absolutely. We are working on our own line for the feed. We're about to drop our own, so we're going to have some great stuff like that, and definitely we'll be getting with you, for your opinion on stuff, what you think might be good for designs and that kind of thing there, for sure.
But say, I just want to say, sorry to cut you off, Mike, but I wanted to say something else. So, I quit smoking cigarettes. I'm still vaping, but I quit smoking cigarettes. And for the first time in my life, I found this, it just popped up. And I was searching. There's a chemical they treat tobacco with that can cause seizures in epileptic people. And I did not know that. I'd never heard of that. No doctor had ever mentioned that to me. And before, every time I'd have a seizure, I'd always ask for a cigarette, and that would stop. That would cause me to come out of a seizure or cause it to stop. Because they used to joke with me at school, because they said, well, Harold's the only one allowed to walk down the hallway with a lit cigarette, We used to joke about it in high school, But
Michael, I could hear them saying something about you like that, Michael.
I didn't smoke, I just fought.
I could just imagine them being like, free pass for Michael Hall. Just free pass. Free hall pass for Michael Hall.
It literally was like, let him smoke his weed so he won't fight nobody.
Yeah, something like that.
Literally, yeah.
But say that's the reason
I had an assistant principal tell that to other teachers. Look, let him have his little weed. Don't tell anybody. Don't let him smoke inside. But don't call the cops are busting because he doesn't fight that way, and we can't deal with that fight. So I was definitely a fighter. What are you gonna do? I was gonna ask you. So, like I was saying, real fast, we do have a store coming. We're very excited about that. We are going to be getting with you, Harold, to get some of your ideas and stuff like that. But one thing I wanted to ask you, for those that don't know, we all congregate together and want to invite everyone who's watching this to come to the Facebook group, The Feed. We have over 2,000 members. Harold is a moderator in there as well. Very important. We're adding to the team. We're gelling the team. So if you need to speak to somebody, if you have a real issue or something, there are people there that can talk to you, that can pray with you.
Right.
that you can, reach out to. We want to invite everybody there. But I wanted to thank you, Carol, before we got too deep. I wanted to thank you because you are consistent and you help keep the group rolling. A lot of people don't understand one of the keys for any group is for people to post in that group. Well, the crazy idea of being social on social media. But
Right.
but
I wanted-
you are consistent, you help. That's what a group needs to grow. That's what people don't always understand is that people go, well, I started a group and it didn't go anywhere. How does your group? And I'm like, well, it's other people invested. That's why it's a group. It is designed inherently on Facebook not to work for just one person, right? If you don't have
Right.
multiple people caring
Want
and
to help
sharing,
more.
it's not gonna like go, right? It's not gonna
Yeah.
like groove in the algorithm. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I consider you one of the founding
Thank you.
fathers of the feed because when everybody else was busy or we were literally off having seizures, 'cause, we're lucky that way. Or dealing with whatever we were dealing with, you are a rock. You are
Yeah.
posting, you are putting content out there, you are interacting with other folks. You are, providing inspiration. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank
And if
you
it's
very much.
okay, can you tell us a little bit about I know you weren't born a Christian, nobody is. We have to
Right.
accept it, right? Can you tell
Right.
us a little bit about that journey? What brought you to God and what gave you such great faith to receive the healing?
I was born in church, raised up in church and stuff, but I went down the wrong path, with alcoholism and stuff, and then things started, when I was up in Ohio, things started getting worse up there, and when I had a neurologist up there tell me, I said, you're going to have to lay the ball down or I'm not going to treat you. And then that was something I'd been praying for. And then I was like, wow, right there's the answer, that's the answer to the alcoholism. And
Amen.
I didn't have no trouble laying it down then. So I feel like God's always been with me, even when I was out there drinking. And then I I feel like my face has gotten stronger, over the years. And then when they called me up and prayed over me over the seizures, it just built it up even more, Because even when I was up there from Dayton to Tennessee, and when I was still smoking, people would come up and just ask me for a cigarette, and then would start telling me about a drug issue or an alcohol issue they had, and I'd start talking to them, and it would blow me away sometimes because I'd be like, well, what do you want? You want to live in hell or you want to live in hell? I'd be like, you want to let that stuff kill you or and I'd tell them about where I came from, my story. And then they would be in tears and I'd be in tears and that happened for years. It still happens sometimes. But it happened in front of my mom once and she started crying and she was like, had a face on her, like her eyes was big and like, what? And then we got in the car and mom was like, where did that come from? I looked at her and I said, that's what I've been telling you about. That's what's been going on for, I said, that's what's been going on for years, And she said, hang on to it. She said, you got to hang on to that. She said, because God's using you.
Amen. Amen. Definitely using you. Michael, I wanted to ask him, Harold, since Michael was asking you about your faith, and how this journey started. Did anybody ever think because of your seizures that, you were filled with demons or anything like that? Because there's like Michael and I hear about it in other
I
countries.
had never heard that.
There's still a
heard
big
that.
judgment, like there's still a big judgment around that. And even here in our own nation.
I know. I'd never heard that until this past 2 years. I'd never heard that until that was brought up in in Matthew about where a child fallen into the fire and the woman brought her child to Jesus, and that's actually in the Bible about a child falling into the fire, constantly falling into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And she brings the child to Jesus and heals him. And it's a long story kind of in the Bible there, but he had a demon spirit in him. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily possessed, but the demon spirit was in him.
Mm-hmm.
And that don't mean that a person is possessed. It's a spirit that can cause something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't, and it's hard to say without offending anybody, but seizures take control of the body. They take control of the body, they take control of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
What does the devil do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it like that in the past 2 years. The devil takes control of the mind and the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I was prayed over and then I've been seizure free, that's really built my faith a lot stronger and made me think like, wow, that could have really been a demon spirit in me for years. Especially with them decreasing the Keppra, where I was taking 6 Keppra a day, now I'm taking 5. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I'm gonna get reduced off more. And that I feel blessed now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't want to offend anybody when I put
Mm-hmm.
them posts up. I don't want to offend anyone, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what it says in the Bible, you know, and it offends somebody, a lot of people sometimes,
Yeah.
but then some people understand it. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying.
We do, and it's important
Mm-hmm.
to allow everyone. That is the difference between our group and other groups.
Mm-hmm.
I think is that we're not doing this for money. We're not doing this for
Right.
attention or pride or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
genuinely are a place where people who are kind of desperate and at the end of
Mm-hmm.
their rope with no hope
Mm-hmm.
and maybe have never talked to anyone in their life that understands this part of their life, we're trying to provide a place for them. And if we say, no, you were raised Muslim or you were damaged in a church, so you have a problem with God and God is working on your heart, but because of that, no, you don't get to come in, or you're the wrong age, or the wrong this, or the wrong that.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the cool thing also, you know what's funny about that is I've actually talked to a lady. She was in England, and her whole thing is, I have epilepsy. Epilepsy doesn't have me, and you can be strong. And she's in England, and I spoke
Yeah.
to her about possibly coming on the show, and she complained about all the Christian posts in our group.
Oh
And I
man.
told her specifically, I was like, look, I know for a fact we have Muslims in our group. We have Buddhists in our group. We have atheists in our group. And
Right.
yes, our group is a Christian majority group, though. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Now with 2,000 folks, I don't know. I have no idea the
Right.
majority
Right.
spiritual standing of all of the people. But we know
I understand.
we lean Christian, and that's okay. But I told her, I was like, this is a place for everyone. Sure, it can get tricky, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, epilepsy
Mhm.
doesn't discriminate, and so
Yeah.
neither do we.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right.
And also on a Christian level, I have to go back to what would Jesus do? And Jesus wouldn't go, you're different from me. No, Jesus would say the best way to show you the love of God and the best way to do this is to allow you to talk to me, is to invite you into this so you
Mhm.
can see that there might be a better way for you than
Mhm.
what you're going
Mhm.
through now. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think we'll be fine just the way we are. I don't think we need to go
That's
change
right.
or nothing. And I think it's important to take this opportunity to let everyone know you don't have to agree with everybody or
Mhm.
anybody on anything other than we are all together on this one thing. We are all united.
Right.
Mhm.
And
And
then direct them to the right path.
exactly. And That's why we have our Friday night hangout so you get to know us. And maybe you won't like us. That's okay. You know what I mean? There's so many of us to choose from. I'm sure you'll find somebody to groove on. I'm sure you'll find your favorite superhero. But regardless,
Right.
you know, we're not gonna discriminate. If you come with love, if you understand your personal thing is your personal thing, and that's okay. And we're not gonna hold it against you or we're not gonna treat you any different. However, we're not on that crusade here other than to end epilepsy and bring people together under this banner.
That's good.
And we know that, doing it together, we are called by God to do this. I am not gonna ever say I am not. This isn't a blessed by God thing. So, but we love everyone and we want everyone to live their best life. Yeah, Jesus himself said, not everyone is going to come,
Yeah.
We just live the life that we are called to live and let God work out the rest. So that's what I'm trying to do.
That's
And I'm
right.
barely doing it. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, brother. I know.
Oh my goodness. We often say, like, in the group, oh, you don't like my personality, it's okay, we have 10 other ones for you. Because like you said, epilepsy, it is a neurological, thing going on. And as we've come together, we've kind of realized that the brain, like you said, is an electrical circuit. I mean, it is an electrical circuit. So even like when the New Age movement even talks about, Christ consciousness, that's what they call it. They call it Christ consciousness. So when I think about the way the brain works, and I think about, this from a electrical circuit and that we, as Mike says, are light particles. We are light. We are light energy. So like that's the way that God had created us. If I see that people are not involved with the podcast or the group, or I'm okay with it, because I'm not ashamed of my creator and I'm not ashamed of Jesus being God in essence. That's my position. And my faith, Harold, has played a big part in me being the woman that I am today. Huge part.
I believe it.
And especially getting through death, of my son, of my child, that even in the Bible says bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. When Jesus died on the cross, I mean, that's how his mom was feeling, like that I birthed him, So when you think about it from that perspective, I have a very hard time understanding how people make it through death that don't understand eternity, and they don't understand that we are more alive being absent from the body, right? Meaning if you're physically on earth, meaning alive, right, on the other side, than we are even here physically. And I think that has played a huge part, in how I've been able to process grief, also heal through grief, and then also be able to have a platform like this to be able to, as Michael said, bring people together, build a bridge that allows caretakers as well as epileptics be a part of this conversation, which we have not seen. And so I think I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of it. And I find that if people are if it's not their vibe or it's not their tribe, that's okay. To me, they can just, there's so many other Facebook groups. There's so many other podcasts you can watch. There's so many other things that you can be involved with. But I love
none as good. None as good. But
I never was.
Well, I happen to believe that this show is the most anointed, but of course, because I do believe that, God knows our heart, he knows our heart. We are volunteers, every single one of us, and the Epilepsy Foundation of America raises over $16 million a year. And over 37% of that goes towards salaries. But yet every single person that is involved with the feed, Faces of Epilepsy, the communities, the website, everything that's done within our collective, We are all volunteers. Not one of us gets paid to be on a Friday night live for 2 hours and speak and educate and bring awareness. Not one of us gets paid. We're putting bills
Right.
together with legislation right now for seizure safety in schools. You know, like none of us gets paid for this. It's all volunteer. And I
Right.
believe we are making huge strides, and it is anointed. And I think it's amazing what God's doing. So I give him all the glory for what he's doing, because I know it's not us. You know,
Right.
we're just vessels. And so I wanted to ask you though about that, because the demoniac position from a spiritual realm, there is a spiritual solution to every problem.
That's
And
right.
that's why
It's
I
just like
also believe
with
that
alcoholism.
yeah. So it's very, very important, like, that you do have that spiritual foundation, because without it, you're just devoid. You know, you're
Right.
like the Walking Dead. And so I do believe that there is without offending anybody, that there is a huge spiritual correlation there, because when you open yourself up to anything outside of yourself, which could even be being addicted to people, you know, it could be codependency.
Yeah.
Codependency is addicted to anything outside of yourself.
Right. Addiction isn't just chemicals or,
Right.
caffeine, nicotine, or anything like, or beer, drugs. Addiction can be anything, anything of this world. You can be addicted to something,
Correct.
and
So
that,
it could be shopping, it could be sex, it could be, you know, all these portals that invite in. And I think it's important for people to understand that demons need, because this is a spiritual, faith-based show today, that we're faith and epilepsy today. I think that it's important for people to understand that we are spirit beings. Our bodies and are just our earth suits. You know, it's just our physical earth suit. You know, there's a saying that we're just a human being having a spiritual experience. That's, you know, our spirit is either dead or it's alive. So I think it's important for people to understand these entities or demons or whatever you want to call it. They do need earth suits to house themselves in, because there's a real spiritual realm. And it says that the weapons of our warfare are mighty for pulling down those strongholds. And I think epilepsy is a stronghold. And I think that's why when you got prayed over and you were like, oh, whatever, okay, pray over me, you know, it's not going to go away.
no, I had faith this time. I was like, do it. I got faith this time. I can do it.
Yeah. And so now it's awesome, because you're having this bona fide miracle, and you're also closing the door of a lot of portals that you had opened yourself up to. So congratulations. That's beautiful. You know, really, really beautiful. I'm so happy that you're seizure free. I'm sure Mike agrees with that, and that
Amen,
you're
yeah.
also getting off of your medication, you know, little by little.
Yes, I'm thankful for that as well. Because that medication like Keppra, especially, how Keppra wears you down, and that ain't Keppra rage. I'd never heard about that until I got in some of these epilepsy groups. I was like, Keppra rage. Wait a minute. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why. Wait a minute, I get a little ticked off sometimes, and then I get a little angry, and I'm like, okay, that could be the short circuit I've got it.
Good way to say it. Short circuit. Love it.
Well,
Yeah.
and if I may, that's
And I was like, it could be like that's a combination of being alcoholism and, the Keppra. I'm like, whoa, that's it. That's why I get a little short circuit sometimes and be like, get fired up and get angry about something, But I try to keep my level down, and be cool with stuff now. And that's just live it a day at a time. And like I think I sent you the message when I went to that concert, that last concert, Crowder and
yeah.
Toby Mac.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
I got a flu there, and caught a flu, and I had a high temperature, and I had an aura the next day. That's the only thing that I've had in the past 2 years and 5 months.
Mm.
So I'm not even counting that as a close to a seizure, or even counting it as a seizure. That because I had a high temperature. So a high temperature can bring on seizures or
Mm-hmm.
and that's just what I've got to stay away from, make sure I don't get the flu or anything. And I'm never going to take a flu shot again because
Yeah.
then they're mixing that COVID stuff in there, and you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Because them COVID shots, I took 2 of them, and they almost killed me because it doubled my dilantin level, and that was 2 car accidents that I was in.
Hmm.
That COVID shot. I took 2 of them COVID shots. It almost killed me.
Yeah, I think every every epileptic needs to understand that their system just works a little differently, and definitely consult your doctor. I recommend your PA. A lot of times your PA just kind of knows a little bit more, or will take the time to get the information, where a specialist such as your neurologist may not. I haven't been lucky enough to see an hepatologist yet. Would like to, but I'm not sure. But I'm quite sure that if you have a good hepatologist and ask them, hey, there is a new medicine or a vaccine out, given my condition, what are your thoughts on me potentially taking it? So I do think that's very important. And then that is something that you said, when you get sick, run a fever, you have a higher potential for a seizure. Yes. Now, for me, that is a huge trigger, right? So I get triggered very easily when I get sick. And in fact, my wife would tell you, save for just this year, I pretty much had a seizure every time I had a fever. It was almost hand in hand. If you have one,
Right.
you're going to have the other. And I would take a couple extra Keppra. We would try to, do what we could. It's gotten better as everything gets better. Thank you, Jesus. But if you are sick, as an epileptic, as somebody who may have seizures, if you are sick, if you're running a fever, you have to focus extra hard on hydration. And
Right.
that's, and that's for everyone, regardless of whether you have to. If you're running a fever, your body is burning through hydration and electrolytes and water way quicker than normal. It is very important that you focus on hydration, because a lot of seizures, they think, and I'm not saying this from me, but from what I've read, and once again, just what I've read, do not take this to the bank. This is not legal advice or health advice at all, medical advice at all, but dehydration triggers seizures, and that it has to do with the blood flow in our brain, the electrical activity. Now, what hydrates you? What is the name of the thing that hydrates you? Electrolytes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Seizures are what? Weird electrical pulses in the brain.
So good.
Okay. So what I've kind of come to learn is that hydration is key. Always have water. Try to drink a gallon a day. I'll tell you the way I do it. I got a quarter gallon little jug. Before noon, quarter gallon gone. Between lunch and say 3 or 4, quarter gallon gone. And that I can drink that with lunch. You know what I mean? And then I'm half gallon into my day already. And and then that's just by early afternoon. And then you get home, you have dinner as you roll through your town. It's very easy at that point to drink 1 or 2 more quarter gallons. And even if you get 3 and you'll be okay, but get 4 in. Those are lifestyle changes you need to make if you do struggle. Hydration, something as simple as drinking a lot of water, is going to be very important.
Right. I still drink Mountain Dew, and I'm trying to juggle that between green tea, and that's helped me a lot, cutting back on Mountain Dew a little bit, because
I don't recommend any soda at all ever for any episode.
Right.
But that's just my personal opinion. And then Mountain Dew of all sodas.
Mountain Dew especially. That's a tough one now. I mean,
Mountain Dew and heroin is like, well, or Mountain Dew and green tea. It's like, well, I'm doing crack, but I'm trying to get off of doing heroin.
You got that right, brother, right there. Mountain Dew, that's what it's like. But green tea for me helps a lot,
Yes.
It is just very, very high in caffeine. and green tea is a very strong diuretic, which means it naturally will dehydrate you. So I highly
Oh,
recommend what they
But
say. Green tea is
oh,
one of
I
the
didn't know it,
strongest.
but it helped. It kind of keeps me all right, while I'm drinking
Yeah,
it.
because
But
it's more because it has natural ginseng and caffeine in it. Green tea is more powerful than coffee. If you look, a lot of energy
oh,
drinks have green tea in them. They don't have coffee in them. They have green tea in them. Look it up. Per ounce or per milligram, green tea has far more diuretic and energetic because basically they're the same. Anything that gives you energy is a diuretic or something that causes the hydration in your body to move quicker
wow.
through your body. So if you're not
okay,
replacing it, that drink is going to suck the hydration out of your body. For
I
instance,
got you.
if you drink a Red Bull, if you drink a 16-ounce Red Bull, you need to be drinking 32 ounces of water.
I don't touch them red.
Wow.
I
You
don't
need
touch
to,
them Red Bulls. I drank one of them, and I felt
yeah,
like
because
my head was going
Mountain
to blow
Dew is
off.
so different. But anyway, the point is,
I was, them Red Bulls, man. I'm telling you, I drank one, and it felt like the top of my head was going to just boom any minute. I was like,
that's why
nope, ain't drinking
that's
another
why
one
I
of them.
that's why I love them. But anyway,
I don't suggest
uh,
energy drinks for no epileptic. I'm serious. I don't,
but seriously, they say
except for a monster every once in a while.
right for epileptics, it's very very important to consider, and I know this can be tough, but you are supposed to drink double the water of any other beverage. So, for instance, if you're drinking a 16-ounce Red Bull or soda, whatever, you
Mhm.
need 32 ounces of water. You need the 16 ounces replaced because that liquid you put in your body is pulling that amount of, and you need the normal amount your body would have normally gotten to function. So
Right.
16 ounces of Red Bull basically takes 32 ounces of water out of your body in
Goodness.
functional terms, not literally, but in
Yeah.
functional terms. If you feel like your epilepsy and seizures are
Mhm.
caused or triggered by dehydration and you look into it, I have found, and my seizures personally have been reduced since hydration has been a major part of my focus in life.
Right. I understand that. That makes a lot of sense and especially since I quit smoking cigarettes and I'm only vaping now,
Mm.
I'm not as dry mouthed as I was before.
Mhm.
Like 2.5 years ago, I was really dry all the time, year round. Like, my mouth was just like constantly dry, but not as bad now since I quit smoking cigarettes.
Heck yeah,
And it's made a big difference.
Hmm.
absolutely.
I'm so thankful about finding that message on the phone, about what they treat the tobacco with, and
Mhm.
so thankful for finding that. And then I told my neurologist about that up in Louisville, and she said, "Well, I'm gonna make sure to put that in my notes." She said, "And let my other patients know." She said, "Because she didn't know it."
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that's good. I said, "Make sure you do. Make sure you tell the rest of your patients about it that smoke."
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of telling people about things, we love telling people about you, Harold. As we round the corner, we're about to wrap up here. Wanted to thank you so much for everything, your time today,
Yeah.
as usual,
I
but
thank you
everything
guys.
you do for
Yeah.
all of us in the group. You do so much for so many people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel like it, but I want to
Mhm.
tell you, you have a ministry. You have,
Mhm.
if you look, the word ministry means servanthood, in the name of God, and you have a
Yes.
ministry, and that is Faces of Epilepsy. You minister to people, you witness to people. Sometimes I'm feeling down, and just something you post
Mhm.
reminds me, you know what I mean, that I have greater
I,
power than what I'm feeling, and
Mhm.
that there's more to this whole thing with God, and there's a greater plan other than
Mhm.
just kind of feeling down and struggling, right? Because we
right.
all feel like that some days, and that's okay.
Oh yeah.
But that's
Mhm.
why there's a Harold in our life. Harold, do us a favor. Tell the people where they can find you. Like, people
Yeah.
see you today, they see you on Faces, they want to get to know you better, they want to be your friend. How do they do
I I understand what you're saying. I've got I've got TikTok and Instagram, and I post things on there too, and try to help people out. And
So what are your screen names or handles where people can find you? And do you want people to find you, first of all, on Facebook or TikTok? Or where do you like people to reach out or become your follower?
Either one. It don't matter. Either one.
All right. It's either one. And then is it Harold Creekmore on all of them? Is there a special handle you got?
Yeah, Harold Creekmore on Facebook. And then I've got two of them on TikTok because they had some stupid thing on there saying that they was going to delete TikTok last year. And then
yeah, I remember that. They were talking about
and then I put mine on pause, mine on pause, and then they had mine messed up, my account, and then I created another one. So I've got two accounts on TikTok now. So I share one thing on an account and then pass it over to the other account and just spread it around,
Double the Harold, double the fun. Harold, thank you so much for coming on, guys. You want to talk to Harold? You want to know more about Harold? Or you just want to know more about epilepsy or a spiritual journey?
Yes.
Any of that, facesofepilepsy.me, the feed or the Faces of Epilepsy group, the feed podcast on YouTube, Faces of Epilepsy group on Facebook, Instagram, all of it. We're here for you between
I'm on there
me,
too.
Lisa, Harold, and the group. You'll be able to get a hold of us if you need to. All links will be in the description. And thank you so much, Harold, for coming on today. We love you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, you're always invited Friday night. Standing invite whenever you would like. It is always it's our Buffalo Wild Wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's Friday night. We're all hanging out. We're going to get together.
I enjoyed it the other night.
Yes. Come back. We love you. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you so much, Harold. So amazing to have him on, huh, Michael?
Harold is great. Yeah.
Faith plays such a big role in what we're doing here. And I know we couldn't do this without God, driving this thing. And I'm excited, for what he's doing, what God's doing, through us. And I love that you said everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome to join the journey, be a part of it as much as you want or as little as you want. We're here. We're not going anywhere. This is part of a much bigger legacy than either Michael or I are responsible for. So don't forget, we want to hear your story. Please reach out to Michael or myself. Let's get you plugged in. We'd love to hear your story. Do you have something of value to add to the epilepsy community? Please reach out to us. Let's get you booked and scheduled so that we can interview and hear what you have to say about epilepsy. From all of us here at the feed, we love you, and we will see you right back here on Friday. God bless.